Oh, the business model is actually that of what a transportation company would run. So, building a rocket company is like running a transportation business. It's just that you're connecting 2 points, of which one of them is not on the planet. That's it. Think of it as an Amazon truck that will take parcels or packages from point A and drop it off at point B. Point B being space, right? So the way you charge your customers is based on how much kgs you take to space or how much mass you take to space, and which destination you're going to, and from where you're going to.
Hello everyone, that is my guest Srinath Ravichandran. He is the co-founder and CEO of Agnikul. They are a Chennai-based Indian aerospace manufacturer specialising in building launch vehicles capable of taking micro and nano-satellites to low Earth orbit on demand. He started out as an outsider, working in finance, but his heart was always in aerospace. So in this episode, he talks about the crazy amount of networking, cold calling professors, and asking himself some existential questions to get this off the ground. He talks about going through the Airbus Incubator to raising $11 million in Series A funding. Amazing stuff. Talks about 3D technology, the business model, great product milestones, why India is the best place to build rockets. Talks about the space tech community in India. Talks about dealing with red tape and the government, and he gives great advice on how to network if you're a bit shy. And finally, he talks about why he thinks there is life on other planets, and why it could be a good thing, and much, much more. So please enjoy the show. Thank you. Hello, Srinath. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me over.
Please tell the listeners what you're building.
We are building small rockets that can very quickly launch to space. We want to make the experience of going to space, or rather actually booking a ride to space, as simple as probably hailing a cab or a taxi to space. That's the idea, and that's what we're building.
What was the light bulb moment?
The light bulb moment was when I was living in the in an area very close to SpaceX in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And at that time I used to do a crazy amount of networking, because at that time I was not in the space sector myself. I actually used to be in finance then. But I knew that I wanted to do something in aerospace and space tech. When I did a lot of networking there, I think I pretty much went to every university in that neighborhood in Southern California. One thing I saw was that every lab I visited or every startup I visited had a small satellite waiting to go to space, but they were not in space. They were sitting in a lab, on the ground. Invariably, the answers used to be about rockets not being available to take satellites to space, right? So I was just like, okay, this doesn't sound right. Maybe you should just build a very quick rocket to, cheaply take these guys quickly to space and launch them without any delay. That's how naive I was at that time, and that's how the idea started. But yeah, that one thing has led to the other, and here we are. We'll be launching this year.
Cool. How are things going? Can you share some stats? And have you sent anything into space yet?
No, but hopefully very soon, probably next 4-5 months, I think we should be ready to get a launch attempt done. Started in 2017 December. We actually associated ourselves with the Indian Institute of Technology at Chennai, and that's how we started our journey. Right. So the one thing that's good about India is that India has done rockets before, right? You have the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. They've been launching pretty well, and there is a lot of know-how in the country already. So when I decided this has to be based out of India, it was very clear that, the knowledge is there, the know-how is there. All we need to do is gather the right set of people, and this should automatically take over. So that's how I planned it, and that's how things have been going so far as well.
Let's go back to the beginning then. What kind of, obviously you did the networking, what kind of research did you do after that? What was the first version of this look like, and, talk about the challenges?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of background before I get into the challenges, so that I'll give context, right? So, I was always an aerospace enthusiast. I went into finance because people around me advised me that I wouldn't get a real job in aerospace if I did that for an engineering degree. So I did electrical engineering, and then this was in India, and then I came to the US to do a master's in financial engineering, and that was just, I would say, FOMO, right? I think I was feeling that I was missing out on everything happening in finance, because literally everyone in my college friend circle did something or the other in finance, and I felt literally like the odd guy out. So I found this interesting course called financial engineering, which seemed to be a blend of finance and engineering, at least in the name of it. And that's what I did. Got a job at AXA in New York. And that was about, doing trading to manage a portfolio. So nothing about aerospace, but I think I needed that, to fully realize that my heart, is in engineering. At the same time, I also had a little bit of, I would say introspection that I had to do, because I felt like I was already changing too many things, right? I'd gone from electrical to finance, and I feel like going back to aerospace. Is this me just, jumping from place to place, not knowing what to do, or am I serious about stuff? I had these questions myself, which is when I actually started doing, exploring a lot of other hobbies, meeting a lot of different people from all walks of life, just to understand where I fit in the society. Right? A lot of existential questions came up. And this was back, I think, in 2010, 2011 kind of a time frame. In fact, one of those things that I really wanted to do actually was, I just love everything about filmmaking. So in fact, even went to evening film school in New York. And I did that for like 4 or 5 years actually. So, and interestingly, one of the assignments in screenwriting is actually what got me to be very clear that I had to do a career in aerospace. So that's how this journey started. And I always felt at that time that, I'm an outsider to the industry. Which is why I was very clear that I had to move to the Los Angeles area, because SpaceX is there, and SpaceX was doing a lot of interesting work at that time. The community there was thriving, and this going to Mars was not a crazy conversation in any of the meetups that were happening in that area, right? So when they realized that there is a problem here, and there was this basic thought that someone should be able to make rockets extremely quickly, extremely affordably, extremely easily. That was still missing. It felt like the big wave that happened in the semiconductor industry, right? Everything became smaller, actually helped satellites get smaller. But rockets, which are basically trucks that haul, satellites to space, they sort of were stuck in the previous era. So this is when I felt there is really a gap here, because rockets are not catching up fast enough as the satellite market is changing. Configured this very basic vehicle design and reached out to about 80, 90 professors across India. I cold call a lot of them, and I think I also I reached people who were very busy, so not too many people were ready to give time, and rightfully so, right? I was trying to get the attention of very busy people. One prof out of IIT Madras here in Chennai happened to give us a one meeting slot, and with that the whole thing started. So we went through thousands of iterations of the vehicle, trying to understand what would really address this problem in the market, right? And that's how things started basically.
What was it like cold calling? Because you must have had a few negative pushbacks and naysayers, what you're doing, etc., and things like that.
Yeah, that was not few. That was the majority actually. A lot of people gave me advice on me not be doing the right thing by switching careers too often, or leaving a safe job and coming and doing this, or if I'm really thinking about the whole thing right, just because I'm around SpaceX doesn't mean I can also build a rocket. I heard every version of it, and I think it was not, I would say, it was not ill intention, right? It was all like well-meaning advice, because people really thought that I was getting carried away by what I was seeing and what I wanted to do, as opposed to actually building a career. So still a lot of respect for those people, because every time they questioned me, I used to go and think about that exact point and sort of eliminated that actually being a problem. So I still feel like, they kind of helped me make sure that I wouldn't get doubts later once I jumped all in. Cold calling was just a lot of brute force energy required. You just had to not take any of the naysayers directly seriously. You have to take the well-intentioned advice out of it and try to see how it'll help you shape your vision. At least that's how I interpreted it, and that's how we went about it.
So the breakthrough moment was the guy at Madras. What happened after that then? Obviously you had to build a team and actually build the stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One other thing that happened is, in between all of this, I met my co-founder Moin as well. So Moin is actually another person who has a very circuitous career path before landing up here. He has a bachelor's in aerospace and then master's in aerospace management. He worked in Qantas, the airline company, and all of this. And he ran a cosmetics company in Chennai, cosmetics manufacturing company. And he was sort of fed up with that, and he was trying to go to aerospace, which is when I told him about this. And interestingly, Moin and I know each other because we used to play cricket together. So random people who met for playing cricket, and that's how this friendship started, which has now become a very serious professional relationship.
I have to ask who's the best?
Moin is an infinitely better cricketer than I do. I'm not a great cricketer. I can hold a bat, I can throw the ball if that counts for cricket. But I used to hang around there because everyone in my friend circle, plays really good cricket, and I wanted to hang around there. So I was like the ball boy, I could say, taking around the kids for people and stuff. And both Moin and I actually, we don't drink because for health reasons and stuff. So we are the people driving other people around. So that sort of fused our bond, our friendship actually. And that's when I was telling him about my own journey to aerospace, right? He was actually quite fascinated by the whole thing. And he actually joined me in some of these cold calls. And when Prof out of Chennai actually said, okay, he gave up his cosmetics company to his cousins. And, I quit my job in LA and came back to Chennai. And that's how we started. The good thing about starting a tech company out of a university is you immediately get interns and you immediately get people who would like to work with you. But also they're also building resumes. They're building, they're trying to build something else, not exactly the rocket. At least most of them, that's because that was not their goal, right? When they came to college. So the hard part was actually convincing people that this is a meaningful idea, that, we can be a group, we can be a company that people can trust. Those things were the harder thing to break. But I mean, one thing led to the other. SpaceX was doing its thing back in the US. So people were getting inspired seeing those accomplishments. And those things actually also helped move things here in India with investors and people. So slowly, that's how we basically built the journey.
Yeah, talk about investors then. Obviously, it's not for the faint-hearted, and you probably need a lot of deep pockets as well. So, was it tough to sort of overcome those type of challenges?
It was tough, mainly because in India, at least, investing in space tech was definitely not considered mainstream. In fact, it was not considered as an option at all. Very few people actually knew that, you could actually build meaningful business models out of the space tech industry, and you can actually make money in the VC route, right? Otherwise, the traditional way I think people thought about it was, okay, you get a grant from the government and build stuff, and it may work or it may not work. That's not how you bet with, money where returns are being definitely looked at, right? Not with these VC money. But there were a few people in the country which we were able to reach out to, again, through sheer effort of cold calling, right? I think I reached out about 800 investors or so, and 2-3 people actually seem to have some idea that there is a business model that is possible here. And with that, it started. So we started off with a $500,000 seed round, and then once I had that happening, the VC community started taking us as a company more seriously, because that seed round of money came in. And beyond that, we also started putting out a little bit of product milestones, right? Started doing engine testing, firing, started showing people what hardware we built, showed people our avionics, our mission design. And these things slowly started building gave us some credibility actually. And that's how it went. I think sort of got in a little immune to people saying, no, this doesn't work, because I do understand that it's foreign for them, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, which I think will happen soon. So you just have to get, be with the girl for a little more time.
Going back to the pitching then, because that must have been quite difficult to do, because obviously you can't sort of demo this. How did you sort of get around that then?
Oh yeah, it was like I think every pitch was actually a 3-step process, right? First, you need to, I had to educate people on what the sector is. What are rockets, right? I mean, everyone knows what a rocket is, but from a business standpoint, where does it fit? What is it serving? What is its end goal? Who are its customers? Who are the people who, help you build it, and so on? And then the next was about, within the space sector itself, what about rockets? What are the different types of rockets? Who are the people building it? You could probably call it a market survey of the competition, or a little bit, around the competition. And finally, I had to get to Agnikul, right? And say, okay, Agnikul, this is why we are different. So that was like a 3-step process. So it took a little more time, probably 2x or 3x the time it usually takes to convince an investor, because this was also required. But I think the way we were able to actually raise money was because we had, a bunch of people who had already built rockets advising us.
Right.
Right. And we were also putting out hardware product milestones. People were seeing our engines firing. People were seeing our rigs come up, our facilities come up. So it slowly gave us some credibility in the fact that, people thought, okay, these guys can probably do something with the money if we give them the money. So that's how we built it up.
What was the most common question the investors were asking you then?
What is the probability that the first launch would succeed? I think that's not the number one FAQ. And as a founder, I would always like to say 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But you're raising money, you need to make sure that in case your first launch fails, you need to still, you need to survive to see the next 3-4 launches, because we know that, we can get it right in worst case in 2 or 3 launches, but then you need the money for that. So we always raise money, keeping in mind at least 4 launches, right? But at the same time, you can't go out and say, hey, I'm building for failure. So that was always a tricky part of the conversation.
Yeah, you mentioned business model. What is the business model behind this?
Oh, the business model is actually that of what a transportation company would run. So building a rocket company is like running a transportation business. It's just that, you're connecting 2 points, of which one of them is not on the planet. That's it. Think of it as an Amazon truck that will take parcels or packages from point A and drop it off at point B. Point B being space, right? So the way you charge your customers is based on how much kgs you take to space, or how much mass you take to space, and which destination you're going to, and from where you're going to, which probably I think is what a cargo company on the ground would also charge you, right? If you're sending a big machine from say, I don't know, Chennai to New Delhi, for example. It's like, okay, you're going to Delhi, you're going from Chennai, and you're taking 100 kgs with you. Okay, this is the cost per kg or cost per kilometer. Very similar, pricing models exist for rockets as well.
How far is this rocket going to go then?
It'll go to a class of orbits called low Earth orbits, which is basically 400, 500 kilometers high. That's why it's called low Earth. It's not very far away. It's just 500 kilometers above. But that is it's the hottest orbital real estate for commercial use cases, right? So people do go further out, and of course you can go really all the way out to the moon, or deep space to Mars and stuff. But if you're trying to, at least today, if you're trying to make money out of going to space, then the hot real estate, orbital real estate, is in the low Earth orbit zone.
You actually got into an accelerator as well, an incubator.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So association with the university here in Chennai, IIT Madras, that was through an incubation agreement. So the one thing again so we got lucky with meeting Prof. We got lucky that Prof was interested. We also got lucky with the fact that the university he was a part of, IIT Madras, actually had an incubation system. So that was helpful in getting us, a lot of the basics sorted out, right? The paperwork, how to share, all of the things required to set up a company, to get started with access to university facilities. All of that happened through this. Other thing is that, we also became a part of the Airbus accelerator program.
Nice.
So Airbus was actually trying to find companies that could potentially be vendors to them if you're building interesting products. And we thought we could actually, probably make some engines for them if they're interested. So that was also a part of our conversation. That gave us a lot of exposure to the French ecosystem. So those things have always been helpful, meeting the giants in the industry, where you're trying to start off, trying to understand their policies, practices, the realities of the game. Right. So that was very helpful.
Sort of a boring question, but what about things like red tape and dealing with the government, etc., etc.? Was that quite hard? Is it?
That was initially hard because India didn't have a clear space policy for launching. In fact, that would be the second question. You asked me about the most frequently asked question. After the probability of failure in the first launch, the next question usually was, will the government allow you to launch? But we're very lucky that now, I think along with this set of initiatives that the Indian government announced for COVID, related measures, right? This whole, initiative to be self-reliant and supporting medical people, services here. Space tech got a push as well. And we got very lucky there again. So now we have a space policy. Now we have a framework. Now we have a single point, contact a single window system to approve, authorize, and deal with all of our launch-related requests. So that has now actually been completely eliminated. So the government is actually reasonably, supportive now, trying to actually help us do the launch.
Nice.
This was not the case in 2017 when we started.
And what's like the space tech community in India like then? Is it growing? Is it a large community? What do you say?
Yeah, it is actually a large community because the space agency actually has been developing vendors for its own needs, right? So we actually have a set of, suppliers, a set of, people in India who know what it means to make hardware for space. And this has all been done by ISRO, trained by ISRO, people trained by ISRO. So they know what it means when you go and ask them of extremely detailed set of requirements for tests to be done before you put something in space. The good thing it's also so that was there. The knowledge was there, the know-how was there, the vendor system was there. What is the new thing that's happening now is because the policy has been announced, because you have the government actually helping you get this done. You're seeing a lot of startups also come up. You don't need to be a vendor to ISRO to now do something in the country for space. Previously, that was the case, right? You want to do something for space tech, go become a vendor for the space agency. Now it's almost like the space agency can play the role of a regulator. There is a framework in place that will allow the agency to do that. And so you can pretty much be on your own and get things done. So that's the shift. And so we're seeing a lot of startups come up, a lot of interest in people just joining space tech startups right out of their college or taking space tech courses. And space is actually, the buzz in space is back in India, I think.
Space is the future, definitely. I suppose there's the old argument, the money that could be, is going into the space industry could be spent on, infrastructure, roads, hospitals, etc., etc. It's probably an argument you hear, quite a few times. But
yeah, I do think that, a lot of people actually unknowingly or knowingly enjoy the benefits of, space technology. Even though it may not look like that, right? GPS, for example, I think all of us use it on our phones. In fact, all of our phones work because of the communication satellites.
That's right.
This podcast is probably also possible because of satellites. So I do think it has become a platform today. And it's a platform. So putting a little bit of resources there to enable this platform to allow for more people to experiment actually would be a good thing. A lot of the materials that we use in the medical community today started off in the space industry because that was needed there for the harsh environments. A lot of the industrial processes that were required actually came from there. A lot of the technology for autopilot, I don't know if you know this, but I think autopilot as a concept started off with rockets, right? And now everyone is talking about cars on autopilot. Right. So I think the theory for autopilot and control systems actually started off in rocket industry. So you have all of these things percolating from space tech to every other part of the community. So I think it's definitely something that we should put a little bit of resources into and keep pushing it, while at the same time trying to solve problems that are, that others are facing in other places and other sectors as well.
You mentioned milestones earlier. What's been the sort of highlight so far during your time here? What's been the standout? Or any specific day? Any highlight?
Quite a few actually. I mean, the big one was when we did our, also our engines are actually unique in the sense that they're fully 3D printed in one shot. So usually a rocket engine is a bunch of different parts put together, and you're carefully welded or machined, or they are assembled together extremely carefully, and it's an extremely tedious process. The team here came up with a design, a completely new design where the whole engine can be 3D printed in one shot. So basically what comes out of a 3D printer is ready to be just fit into the rest of the rocket. And that sounded nice on paper and even during printing, but we're very nervous to see how it's going to work when you actually put it to test. So the first time the 3D printed engine operated and successfully worked, I think that was a big moment that I cannot forget. I also think other big moments where, when the Space Research Organization actually signed an agreement with us to formally support us for all of our activities that will eventually get us to launch. That was a big moment for me, mainly because when I started off, there was no answer to the question of, will the government really support you? And here now I have an agreement formally with the government saying, yes, we are behind you if you want to go launch. So I think those moments are something that I really cannot forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in terms of competition, would you say, are you like the main players then?
There are quite a few people building rockets, right? And these come in like variety of, classes of satellite mass. So you have the 1-ton class, you have the 10-ton class, you have the 500 kg class, you have the 100 kg class. So, and I see a lot of people in the 1-ton and 500 kg class, but we actually consciously chose to be in the smallest end of the spectrum because we really wanted to offer dedicated launches. We wanted to build a cab to space. I was very clear of that goal from the very beginning because we felt there is a gap there. If you want to haul a truck to space, you have SpaceX, you have India's own PSLV, you have multiple rockets that go. You have Ariane from the European Space Agency. But what about if you just want to send 50 kg to space? Is the ride share the only way? That's not how we thought it should be. So that's why, we operate here. There are a few people who operate in the 500 kg class, in the 1-ton class, but very, very few people actually in the 100 kg class. So, but there is some competition, and a lot of people are trying to build rockets today, which is generally a good thing, I think, for the sector as a whole. But I think even within that, we operate in a slightly different sector, and our technology and the way in which we build our products is quite different from what others are doing.
Yeah, you mentioned technology, so it's 3D printing. That's the main technology that you're using. Is there anything else that you're using?
Oh yeah, three things, right? One is 3D printing, and the other one is the ability to, sort of scale your rocket engines up and down based on what the customer wants. So it's almost like, buying a laptop, right? If both of us here want to buy laptops, I'm sure that even if we agree on the brand and the product series, you'd probably be buying different RAM or different hard disk sizes or, different monitor size because you may want a larger monitor, I may want more graphics card, whatever, right? These versions exist. Very similar things happen in the rocket industry as well. But today there is no such solution. You're basically given a rocket and you sort of have to compromise something to get onto the rocket. We want to change that and say, hey, if this is the mission, if this is the target, okay, this is the rocket that you can build. So we want to sort of personalize the whole aspect of building a rocket. So that's a new thing. And then finally, we also have this ability to launch from any launch pad. Basically, it's a completely mobile solution. You're not stuck to one launch pad or one infrastructure. This will help us actually scale to more launches per year, right? Because if you're just hogging up one launch pad all the time, I don't think that makes sense. I mean, other people will also want to launch and you can't dictate your timelines fully. Certain missions are better off from certain launch ports. So we actually want to have that flexibility as well. So we've also brought that into the equation. So these are some of the new things that we're trying.
Sounds exciting. When are you actually launching then? When's the big day?
Targeting somehow something to happen by late this year, hopefully by September or October. The stage is ready, the vehicle is ready, going to do a lot of testing and software simulations to make sure everything is right. So I think 1 or 2 launches this year, hopefully that's the target, and hopefully getting into some sort of a small steady state by next year, probably 4 launches a year or something starting next year. Let's see how that goes.
What is it you're sending into space then?
I'll be sending customers satellites, either people who want to go up and take pictures or people who want to bounce off signals for communication. I also have a few people who want to test out their systems in microgravity. This is now becoming a business case because it's really hard and costly to generate microgravity on Earth, right? You have to do a centrifuge and you have to pay for that, and it consumes a lot of energy and effort, and interfacing, is a nightmare. We instead told our customers that, hey, you can just, we are inexpensive enough. You can just come with us. We'll give you microgravity at a reasonable price. And so we have a few people trying that as well.
Sounds exciting. How excited are you then about doing this?
Super excited. I think it's been like a really long journey, and it looks like the first flight is very near. So yeah, I can barely sleep these days.
Would you change anything looking back then?
No, actually, I think I continue to be the same more. My standard go-to algorithm is still brute force and keep trying till one day luck will favor you. So nothing really, I think, nothing really to change. So that has worked, and I think I'll continue doing that.
I suppose as a founder, you've changed sort of 1-2 people team now, probably a 60 people team. How are you finding the leadership side of things?
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting challenge, and I'm just starting to learn that we're 100 people today, and it's not enough if only me and Moin are the leaders. We need an entire set of leaders in the company, and I think coaching them, telling them the right kind of principles. And we try to instill a core set of 4 or 5 values in everyone in the company, because you can't really tell people how to act, but you can tell them a concrete guideline which captures the way in which people think and the way in which people react. Right. So that is what we try to instill, and we do very regular sessions with the entire team, highlighting that over and over, because I think if those guiding principles are completely absorbed by people, then everything will happen the way we would like this company to work.
And actually, what do you think about what Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are doing? They're sort of building rockets and sending people to space and etc. etc.
I think at least with Elon Musk, the reason why today this is a business model that's possible is because he started putting dollar numbers out publicly, and he started proving that you can actually raise money and launch rockets. So that is definitely something the entire community is thankful for. I think he got this buzz into space tech back after a really long time. Bezos and other people, rich people are trying to go there. I mean, it's great, right? I mean, because in some sense, going to space is definitely going to be a big motivation for a lot of people. I think every kid grows up wanting to be an astronaut at some point, right? At least I know kids who are like that, a lot of them. So, and actually seeing this happen is going to build the entire sector as a whole. It's a lot of money, a lot of technology being built just to address this. So, I feel more people should try to do this. It just feels like that will make the industry a lot more, easily accessible to people, bringing costs down, bringing competition, to all sectors, and that'll make it a level playing field for everyone.
What's going to happen in the future then? Go mad, go crazy. Are we going to be living on the moon or living in the Mars?
Yeah. I think so. I think today everything that has to happen in space has to start off from Earth. I think that'll change. I think there'll be multiple destinations. You'll have a low Earth orbit destination. You'll have Moon as a sort of like the last spot from where you can access the rest of space. You'll have small neighborhoods in Mars. You'll probably have theme parks and zero gravity. I mean, name it. There is, space operates with a very different set of, environmental conditions, right? So the physics there is very pure. You don't have, you don't experience gravity the way you do on the surface when you're in orbit. Temperatures are low. Conditions are different. So there's actually a scope for a lot of things once access to space becomes easy. Today, I think that's the real problem that we are trying to solve for, right? Our vision as a company is also to make going to space the easiest part of doing something from space, because today I think that's the hard part. Once you get there, people know what to do, but getting there is hard, costly, probably not quick. Once you solve for that, I think it's a new environment, and I mean it's like you suddenly got an access to a hill station or something. You can do a lot of things there, so it's going to become like that.
There's supposed to be like new jobs as well, like in the future there could be like space mining, space farming, etc.
Yeah, right. Space. Yeah, definitely. I think asteroid mining is going to be, it's a little further out, I think, but at least in the next 20-30 years, that'll happen for sure. I think a lot of this will also translate to helping others, with other regular technology that everyone uses, which has nothing to do with space tech. New materials being built, new approaches to technology, all of these things would directly impact, other sectors completely disconnected with space. So it's basically, in some sense, if you just look at it globally, right, a lot of money going into building good technology, and that is going to help all of us, I think.
I have to ask, do you believe in life on other planets? And are we alone, or is there life on other planets, you think?
There's very likely life on other planets. Just sheer probability, I think, will account for that. I think it just cannot be that, there are 100 billion stars, and in each galaxy, and there are 100 billion galaxies, right? So you have 100 billion times 100 billion stars, and each of them may have 10 or so planets, or probably 50, and this Goldilocks zone where Earth is definitely going to be there in one of those stars, in one of their planets. And I mean, at some level, I think, some carbon molecules can come together and start thinking about things like what we do. So that's possible. Probably there are other life forms as well that you don't even know of, but still can exist. So I definitely think there are aliens around. It will be fun. I hope in our lifetimes we actually establish contact with an alien.
Yeah.
Let's see if that happens.
Hope they're friendly.
No, I actually also think it's going to be the single biggest uniting force for the entire the entire human species, right? Because right now we still have our own differences, and there are a lot of bad things happening in the world today in terms of conflicts and clashes and wars and all that. But I think once you know that, hey, all of us are here together, we are just one species, and there's one more species out there, and hopefully they're friendly. But still, I think it's the biggest uniting force for all of us if you know that one other species exists. So, yeah.
In terms of the space race, then, where is India in the space race? Obviously, we've got America, China, Israel. Is India in the mix?
Oh, I think definitely. I think among the 4 or 5 countries which have very regular launching capacity, we have India and Japan as well. So you have US, you have Russia, you have Japan, you have China, and you have India. I think people who repeatedly go to space, and of course you have Europe as well.
Yeah.
So these are the 6 countries that regularly go. Europe, I think they have the whole space agency that comes where everything is built by a group of nations together, right? So Europe as a continent, but I think there is definitely India is up there already. We do need to do a lot more in terms of deep space, in terms of sending people to orbit and all that, which is what the agency is working on right now. So I think we are headed in the right direction.
Cool. That's all good. Last few questions then. What advice would you give to our first-time founders?
The real reason for why they want to be an entrepreneur, because I think the number one thing that will make you stick around with the goal is going to be the core emotion that's driving you to be an entrepreneur, right? So I think people should really understand why they're trying to do what they're trying to do. And if that is clear, then no matter what happens, no matter the odds of success, people will stick around. And if they stick around for long enough, I'm pretty sure that at least one day probability will favor you. Just mathematically speaking, you can't have 1,000 days of bad days in a row. It doesn't make sense. Life doesn't work that way. So mathematics will start favoring you at some point, but you need grit to get through that, the 999 bad days. And for that, you really need to know why you're trying what you're trying. So I think the why is the most important part for any founder. Probably a little bit of business sense, because at least if you're doing technology, you can't get too lost in the R&D. This is a business. You need to raise money. You need to return to your investors. You have, fiduciary responsibility and keeping your shareholders happy as well. And you're trying to add value to customers. All of those things need a basic business sense, right? It need not be like you're like a extremely experienced business person, but at least like, okay, hey, this much is what I spend, this much is what I make, this is the profit. At least at that level, you need to understand things a bit. So I think, just really understanding why you're doing what you're doing, and some basic business sense is, I think, a good combination to start off with.
And if someone wants to do a space tech startup like yourself, what advice would you give them? And any sort of do's or don'ts?
I have tons. I'll just keep it to 2 in each category for now. Keeping time in mind. Biggest do is, be very clear of the business case, because space tech can mislead you in terms of, the technological, the aspirations you have may eclipse your ability to look at the business case. So always make sure there is a business case. Like, for example, if someone is building rockets to go to one of Jupiter's moons today, that may not be a good business case, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And also, I think to be extremely thorough, it's harder than it sounds, because you need to be quick and nimble, and at the same time also be extremely rigorous with stuff like documentation and processes and qualification. All of the boring things have to go hand in hand with all of the cool things that at least typically people perceive as cool and boring. So I think that's important to keep in mind. As far as don'ts, don't expect anything close to instant gratification. Things take time to work, so everything is a journey. If you do something today, you're going to see the rewards for it at least 6 months down the line. So if you're looking for something tomorrow, probably building space tech hardware is not the best place. And do not let I think the failures actually deter you, right? That's the other big caution point. Failure is a part of doing space tech. So in fact, I think Elon Musk has said that the more you're failing, the more you're learning. Some version of that should hopefully keep you positive through all your failures.
Yeah, good advice there. Actually, you mentioned networking at the start of this call. How does one network? Because you see a lot of people in conferences just staring at their mobile phones. Probably you've managed to overcome that successfully.
That's not my strong point. No. I really struggle with it even today. But I always tell myself, hey, maybe that guy who is also busy on his phone is probably also hesitant to talk to someone. Maybe I can break it for him. That's the story I tell myself. maybe they're as shy as I am, or maybe he's more shy than I am. So let me break it for him. That story has worked for me. But also I keep reminding myself of, hey, what if this guy is going to get you to the next big, investor that's going to give you a lot of money? So maybe this conversation is going to change your life. I tell myself all these stories and somehow say the hello. And after that, actually things start to go by themselves, right? I think just saying that first hello, or like making sure that you're crossing this point of, am I disturbing this guy? Is he going to be busy? And am I interrupting him? I think that is the question that usually keeps me, that holds me back. And I use these two techniques to tell myself that it's okay. Hey, worst case, he's going to be busy. In which case, he'll be saying, sorry, I have something to do. I'll say, okay, sorry to bother you, and go back. So, but I'm not as good as I want to be on that. It's something I'm still learning.
No, it seems to be going quite well. So you're based in Madras. Is that like the main place for the Indian space industry then?
The launch port here is very close to Chennai.
Right.
It's like, just 70 kilometers from here. So that way it's good. We have the university here, right? That's good. Chennai is an automotive hub. So there's a lot of supplier ecosystem around. They've not made space tech products much, but they have made products, hardware products. And they understand things like testing, qualification, QC, quality assurance, these things that that hardware needs, that an industry needs. So I think that way Chennai is really, really good. I think given the fact that, Bangalore, which is where ISRO is headquartered, is probably 6 hours by train or 2 hours by flight. And the launch port is about an hour by drive. I think it's not a bad place to start off.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Awesome stuff. Right, last question for people who want more information on you and what you're building. What must they do? How do they connect?
I'm quite active on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So that's the best way. LinkedIn is literally the best way to reach out to me, I think. And I think, I do reply to people who ping me on Twitter. So we could take it from there.
Srinath, thanks for coming on the show today. I really, really enjoyed it, and wish you all the best for the launch in September, hopefully.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, sure. Hopefully it's September. And thanks for having me on this podcast. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Awesome stuff. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Thanks to Srinath for coming on the show today. For more information, check out agnikul.in. Thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. And if you're building something exciting, please send me an email, hello@neilpatel.co, or you can tweet at Indian Startup SH, or you can go to facebook.com/Indian Startup Show. We'd love to connect. Thank you and goodbye.